Have you ever met anyone that just gave you a weird vibe? You know, something they said or something they did or just something about them just gave you a weird vibe. And did you ever find yourself repeatedly in the same room or in the same situation with this person? I learned early on that the top 1% do something very, very different than the bottom 99%. And it was actually taught to me by my mentor, who today is a billionaire. He said, the top 1% run away from people that give you a bad vibe or kind of act weird or do something weird that sets you off a little bit, kind of puts that radar up a little bit. It may not be something big. However, if it's something that triggers you to say, that was weird, or that was weird for that person to say, or that was an odd joke for that person to make. Anytime you have anything like that happen to you, it's a sign. Your intuition is very, very reliable. So I learned that most people, they go through life and they interact with these people time and time and time again. But the top 1%, as soon as they have an interaction like that, or they have that feeling, or they get that vibe, they run away. Well, maybe not literally run away, but in some cases, yes, you need to literally put on your running shoes and run away. But they distance themselves, and they do it very fast. They don't have time to waste with people like that, people with weird energy, weird vibe. And, you know, when we're kids try to do things to be a little different. They try to do things that maybe are a little weird for attention-seeking behavior, and that's what little kids sometimes do. But when you're an adult, if you be able to very quickly rule that's not what that person is doing, because we're all grown-ups. However, if you do find that someone is doing that as an adult, that is a red flag to run and run away quickly. You don't want that energy in your life. You don't want that weird vibe or that weird, that weird energy floating around you, even to even be in the same room as that. It is sometimes difficult when it's someone that is maybe close to someone you know. However, that should not be a reason to continue. I learned this once again from my mentor, because he said there were some people that he was friendly with, and they were friends with someone that just always gave him a weird vibe, and they weren't sure. He just wasn't sure about this person. They made odd jokes. They said odd things at different times, and he just couldn't quite put his finger on it. So anyway, he made the decision to run away and distance himself. And sadly, it made him have to distance himself from some friends that he really did like. They didn't give him a good. These friends of his did not give him a bad vibe, and they did have good energy. But they always were hanging out with this guy. Well, anyway, fast forward, I would say maybe 2 years later, he said this guy gets arrested for having kitty pictures on his computer and a whole bunch of horrible stuff. And of course, then those friends came back to him and they said, "Wow, you had that feeling about him, and we didn't. He was quirky, he was a little odd, whatever." Trust that gut. Now, I'm not going to say that every time you run into someone like that, that's what they are, or that's what they're doing behind the scenes. That's not what I'm saying here. All I'm saying is trust your gut. Moms have this intuition. Moms are really good at this. Moms can tell when someone is around their children that just gives them a bad vibe or they have a bad energy. I never, ever forgot that lesson. And as I've gotten older, I've actually gotten more and more strict with this rule. Of course, for a little while there, I let it go here and there. Someone gave me a weird vibe or did something weird. He's just an odd guy, or she's an odd woman. But now, in the recent years, as soon as I notice that, I'm saying the minute I notice that, I move in the opposite direction. I distance myself, and I make sure that I have no contact with a person like that. And I make sure that I am not repeatedly putting myself in a situation where I'm near or around that person. It doesn't benefit me in any way. It doesn't benefit me in any shape. It doesn't help me get one step closer to my goals, my ultimate ambitions, or anything like that. So if that's the case, why am I going to continue? Oh, for the sake of, they're friends with so-and-so, so I'll just tolerate it. No, I'm not going to do that. I've had it happen where some weird guy or some weird woman that gave me a weird vibe was friendly or friends with someone that I was friends with. And as soon as I felt that, you know what? I let those people know. I don't just disappear or be distant for no reason. I will let that person know. In the past, I would just kind of back away and distance myself and make myself scarce. But as of late, because of things that have happened to me over my lifetime, and maybe as you grow and mature, when I get that, I will let those people know. So if I'm friends with a couple and they always have this weird guy or weird girl hanging around, and I get that vibe, it's bad energy, whatever it might be, and I know I'm going to distance myself, I will let them know. And it happened a few months ago where I let the couple know. I'm like, hey, listen, hey, I'm not trying to be bad about it, but that guy or that woman, in this situation was a guy, this weird vibe from him. And I don't know what it is, but I'm just going to, that's not what I want to be around, and nothing, no knock on you guys, love you guys, but I don't want to be around that. So, whatever, if there's something going on and he's not going to be there, sure, I'll gladly stop by, I'll stop over, whatever. But I just want to let you know that I don't want to be around that. I don't need to be around that. And I'm not going to intentionally put myself around people like that. And they got it. They were like, wow, okay, yeah, no, we get it. And of course, they said, yeah, we know he's a little odd. He's a little bit of a strange bird, but he means well. He's harmless. And, you'll hear all those things. The top 1%, they don't care about that. It doesn't matter. That's just words. If that's the feeling you have, run away, move away. I've noticed in a lot of situations where I'm talking to people who enter into relationships that they say that they had that feeling or they had that vibe about someone, but they dismissed it early on. And down the road, they got into a relationship with this person, and they found out that this person was toxic, and it turned into this toxic relationship. And when you go back, when they had a moment afterwards when they were able to escape, they were able to look back and think about some of that energy, some of those vibes they got early on that they noticed, but they dismissed because they were like, they don't want to be too harsh on someone or too almost like too hard lined with themselves. And I'm not a believer in that. I'm not a believer in that. And I believe that part of the reason why I am where I am today is because I listen to my mentor on a lot of these things, and I don't do what 99% of people do, which is just let things like that slide. I've been very, very good about following those instincts and literally running away from people at times, just leaving functions, leaving parties, leaving meetings. It doesn't matter. And it has never, ever hurt me. If anything, I know it has helped me, and it has helped me in business. It's helped me in relationships. It's helped me in friendships, you name it. So that's something that I wanted to share, which is the whole point of me doing these videos, is sharing the things that I've learned from my mentor along the way that took me from being literally dead broke, having creditors calling my house and, calling my cell phone and, sending letters to my home and not having any money in the bank, to building a multi-million-dollar business, owning tens of millions of dollars in commercial real estate, and living the life of my dreams. And it didn't happen overnight, and I'm not letting any of you know it will happen overnight. It takes time. For me, it took a couple of decades, but it was doing these small things over the course of those couple of decades. They compound on each other, just like interest, right? The greatest thing in the world is compound interest. That compounding on each other is the difference that made the difference. And I'm a firm believer of that today, that I wouldn't be here if I didn't pay attention to all these little things along the way that got me here. And as the son of an immigrant single mother, never had a dad in my life, never had any kind of guidance from a young age, and my mom was always working, things like that. I had to learn these things. I had to learn these things on my own. And by the grace of God, I had a mentor when I was older guide me, mentor me, take me under his wing, and share this knowledge with me that, of course, at times some of it seemed odd. But then there were the things like this that I got to tell you really, really hit home. And I still, till this day, I still practice this and so many other things that I've shared in other videos and I'll continue to share with you. So hope this helped. Hope this provided some kind of benefit or insight for you. And if you have any questions, drop a comment below. I'll do my best to answer all the comments. And if you have a situation that you want to share, go ahead and drop it in the comments, because we've all had them, right? We've all had these things that have happened to us, and we respond differently. But maybe after watching a video like this, maybe your eyes will be a little bit more open, or your senses will be a little bit more keen to things like that. So drop below if you had something like that happen. Of course, if you find content like this helpful, I appreciate the subscribe. Always helps with the growth of the channel and all that stuff. So if you want to, if not, that's okay too. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If not, that's okay too as well. And of course, if there's someone that you think might benefit from this video, go ahead and hit that share button, send it over to them, shoot them over a text, whatever it is that you want to do, and let them know, hey, this is an awesome video, or this is a good video. Hey, I learned something from this video. Check it out. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time.